Happy New Year from Point of Sale Pondering and Wright and myself. So I've gone through several installations of Retail Management Hero, several installations of Cloud Retailer. In both cases, these are retailers upgrading from the Microsoft RMS software. And that continues to be the bulk of the folks that contact me is RMS users. So this is going to be geared towards RMS users, but it may also be beneficial for someone who is searching for a point-of-sale system, because I've also worked recently with retailers just starting out from scratch using both Retail Management Hero and Cloud Retailer. So I'm going to hit some of the differences between the three programs. I had some requests also to really drill deep into the differences between RMS and RMH, and that would just get... Everyone uses their point-of-sale system differently because both those programs, RMS and RMH, are so feature function rich that it would be impossible for me to cover everything. I think that's best left when you're getting your customized demo of the programs to see the various differences that may need to be aware of, because the reality is that the programs, at least for RMS and RMH, are 80-85% the same. But just like if you buy a car, say like I have a 2016 Kia Soul Plus, and I decide I want another Kia Soul Plus, so I go out and buy a 2018 Kia Soul Plus. Well, about 80 or 85% of the car is the same. The remaining 15% or so, there are some different things. And point of sale is the same way. When you go from RMS to RMH, or you go from RMS to Cloud Retailer, there are some differences. In the end, it's still going to get you from point A to point B. So that's why I decided not to go too deep. Okay, enough of that. So the sequence here is we're going to cover, I think, 5 or 6 comparisons between Microsoft Dynamics Retail Management Systems, known as Microsoft RMS, versus the Retail Management Hero, or RMH software, versus the Cloud Retailer software. The reason I'm including Cloud Retailer is it is also a logical upgrade for RMS users and has proven to be equally as popular as Retail Management Hero in my experience. The folks that I've worked with so far over the last year or so, especially, and the interest I'm seeing going into 2018. So this will be a bit scattered. I hope this all makes sense in the end, and I appreciate your patience. And of course, you can always contact me with any questions or to see more detailed information. If I can't help you, I'll connect you with the correct resource. All right. The other thing I should note up front too is keep in mind, at least if you're an RMS user, there are some pretty significant discounts for Retail Management Hero and Cloud Retailer. So not only are you reducing your costs, you're getting a fresh point-of-sale system, and you are not starting from scratch with having to re-input your inventory and customers, and in most cases you'll be able to see your customer purchase history as well. Alright, so I promise not to talk so much. Show you more. Alright, since you've been staring at my computer screen here for a while. So what we have here is, let's first talk about modules. So for RMS store operations, we have 3 modules. Basically, we have Manager, we have POS, and we have Administrator. Retail Management Hero, we have Administrator, POS, Manager, and then we also have the stock take function, which is your physical inventory. And then we also have your loyalty program, which is included with Retail Management Hero. With Cloud Retailer, we have a point of sale module, and then we have the Manager and Administrative module, which I'll show you in a bit because that's all browser-based online. So that kind of covers the modules. Now let's take a look at the point of sale screens. So We'll go hopefully in sequence here, so we'll start with store operations. And basically, the idea here is just to give you a feel, again, kind of the look and feel for the screens. Want to make those using RMS, okay, it's pretty simple. If we're going to do a simple transaction, if we look up customers, we're going to look up our customer, swipe the card, ask for the phone number, or not even ask them if you're not tracking your customers. We're going to scan our items, and naturally I'll pick something that's out of stock, which makes this look harder than it is. Let's go back and find something that's in stock, and we tender the sale. Pretty straightforward, extremely easy, extremely fast. It's not that difficult to train someone on that. So now let's compare that to the screen for Retail Management Hero. So first thing we see, it's updated. We can still do the same things, except now it's a little more touchscreen friendly rather than using the mouse. And since I am using a tablet, I'm actually running all three programs at once on a Surface Pro. So again, we can go to Customers. We still can use the F7 key if that's what you are comfortable with. Select our customer. Let's bring in an item. Pick something that's in stock so it's not so slow. And then we can tender out the sale. Again, very simple, very easy. This isn't anything that takes a lot to train someone on, and allows for speed and efficiency, which if you've got a line of folks, no matter what business you're in, no matter what type of specialty, vertical, specialty retail, etc., you retain that speed. So then let's hop over to Cloud Retailer. So now this looks obviously quite different from the other two programs. The idea here is now we go to more of a task pad or a menu style interface, but we're still retaining the same ease of use. The idea here though is there's a little more personalization. What we're looking at here is something that would be designed for a liquor store. But whether you're a liquor store, a pet store, a feed store, trampoline park, a state park and recreation facility, an airport concessions or airport gift shop, etc., etc., etc. All this is customized, or I should say configured, according to what you need. And I'll talk about the differences between customization and configuration towards the end of this video. So, again, we can use touchscreen, we can use mouse, we can create function keys, stuff like that. So if we track customers, then we're going to select our customer. Then we're going to scan in our items, and then we are going to tender the sale. So there you go. Now, a lot of folks, they hear the word cloud, because there are a lot of cloud-based point-of-sale systems out there, like Clover, Silver, Vend, Shopkeep, Lavoo, Lightspeed. I want to clarify that Cloud Retailer, the back end, the management administrator part of the software is cloud-based. The point-of-sale part of it is locally based on your computer, just like Retail Management Hero and Microsoft RMS. Reason being is then we retain the speed of having something locally based, and we are not reliant on the internet. As I'm sure you are aware, there are complaints out there when the cloud-based programs go down. Even if they advertise in offline mode, you're still kind of sitting there with a pen and paper and a calculator, and maybe a knuckle buster. So, the nice thing about Cloud Retailer is it will keep functioning. Now, no matter which point-of-sale system you're using, if the internet goes down, and that's how you process credit cards, you're not going to be able to accept credit and debit card. There is some technology coming around the corner that will allow kind of offline authorizations. Basically, the payment terminals or the POS software will store all the credit card information, and then when everything comes back online, do like a mass authorization for all the transactions. Barring that, what folks do, I do work with people with real high volume, heavy transactions. They have a backup internet. Maybe it's a Cradlepoint device, a Verizon hotspot, etc., etc. Just they make sure they have something available. Okay, so that gives us a quick comparison of the 3 point-of-sale programs as far as the point-of-sale. All extremely easy to use, all flexible in how you scan in items and how you ring through transactions. Alright, so now let's move on to the manager part. So we'll start with RMS. Again, that's kind of our base product, which again most folks are contacting me about replacing. But I want to let you know, if you can bear with me in the video, this is still a good comparison of starting out fresh with Retail Management Hero or Cloud Retailer. So with RMS, you're probably used to, this is an early 2000s program, so we have pull-down menus and things like that. Let's take a quick look at our items. We'll just pick an item in inventory, and basically we have our different tabs for things like pricing and discounting and putting on sale. And again, RMS and RMH are real broad-based programs. They tried to write these to work with just about any type of retail business. So that's why you see a lot of things in here you might go, well, I don't care about food stamps. I sell furniture. But again, they're trying to cover the bases. Okay, so that's RMS inventory item. Now let's go over to Retail Management Hero. And let's see, yep, I have the hazelnuts. So let's take a look at that. And what we are going to see is, again, almost the same as RMS. There's a few things different. Mainly they've added some additional data. So when you're ordering, you can get some performance indications, things like that. You can see some history in a snapshot. Now, I've been out of stock on these hazelnuts for some time, so there's not much in the way in sales other than apparently the 2 that are on order. Again, we've got our tabs. Very, very similar. How you do some of the discounting is slightly different in RMH versus RMS. We've got some different options for unit of measures. Again, 80-85% the same between RMS and RMH. Are there some things that take some getting used to or you might have to adjust on? Yeah. But again, that's when you have that conversation with myself or a RMH RMS partner who can give you, find a little bit more about how you use RMS. When I go on site with folks, that's probably the first thing I do is we just talk. How do you do purchasing? How do you do receiving? How do you put items on sale? Just a general conversation. It's not a sales pitch or any of that stuff. Just for me to learn how folks are using RMS, and then allows me to give them a better idea of what RMH and Cloud Retailer look like as replacement programs. Or if somebody's starting out from scratch, then we have a blank slate. We talk about what they want in an ideal point-of-sale system. And believe it or not, I just shut up and listen. And it's amazing what you can learn. Okay, we were comparing items before I went off on the tangent there. So let's hop over to Cloud Retailer. And let's find an item. I don't have the roasted nuts in this one, so we'll just look at beer. And I don't want to do a keg. Let's do a 24-pack, and we'll just edit it to show you that as we look at the inventory options for the 24 pack, that it will contain a lot of the same things as RMS and RMH. It will just appear differently. And of course it is cloud-based. You saw the lag. For reference, I'm on internet that's 40 down and 5 up. So that is one thing with cloud-based. There's a trade-off there. You've got flexibility to access the management and administrative part of the software from really any device with a browser. I mean, you can use your iPad, tablet, laptop. Have phones probably not the easiest, but the trade-off is depending on your internet access, there is a lag, for it to generate a report or generate inventory information versus having everything right there on the computer itself. So just like RMS, RMH, we've got our various descriptions about the item, pricing levels, quantities on hand, the suppliers, some of the same checkboxes, things like that, discounting. So again, it's all there. It's just a different layout. One thing you will notice with Cloud Retailer is it is multi-location ready, as in already built in. There's no HQ module, there's no SQL servers, there's none of that. So here's another area that you have to think about. With RMS and RMH, you have to buy, the headquarters or the new RMH Central module. Cloud Retailer, it's there. I mean, literally, it's there. There isn't any surprise. I mean, I can see different location data. I can change pricing at different locations. It's all just right there. When you look at some of the other programs, say like I've worked a lot with Counterpoint, putting that in at chains with up to 14 or 16 locations. And Counterpoint is a great program, but it is resource heavy. You literally have to have a main server, and you have to have kind of like a junior server at each of the stores. Now they've changed that a little bit because you can get a hosted version of Counterpoint, meaning it's all over the internet as well. But again, as we're trying to keep this video focused on RMS, RMH, and Cloud Retailer, I'll leave it at that. Just want to point out there is a nice multi-location benefit with Cloud Retailer that is extremely simple and easy to use. Okay, purchasing. So let's go back to RMS or store operations. For doing our purchasing, we generally went into inventory, purchase orders, and we created a new purchase order. And we had all these options, if we're going to do it blank, reorder points, departments, categories, things like that. So that's all pretty standard. If we hop over to Retail Management Hero, we're going to see one slight difference. That is, we have our purchase orders, but then we have our purchase order kind of like creation. And so here's where we have our options kind of very similar to RMS as far as creating based on restock levels, suppliers, departments, categories, setting up our own filter, things like that. So that again is fairly familiar. When we see our purchase order list, just like in RMS, RMH has, if it's open received, things like that. Let's go back to Cloud Retailer, and we are going to go to purchase orders. And it's a little different here on the Cloud Retailer side of things as far as creating a purchase order. And basically the main difference is you are going to be adding items as needed. Down the road, there will be options for minimum stock levels, things like that, but right now you're going to be adding the items to the purchase order. So that's a little different. Beyond that, it's pretty much the same. We're going to place a purchase order, email it, print it, whatever. That part is pretty much the same. All right. So we're going to cancel that and roll through this for you here. The next item is reporting. So let's go back to RMS, so we're staying in the same sequence here. So if we go into RMS and we are doing our report, let's see if we can do a detailed sales. Okay, so I just made it basically anything sold that wasn't today, and actually got some things. So with the reports in RMS, we had this cool thing where this magnifying glass appears and you can drill down a little deeper into a report or see some additional information about what you're trying to do. Beyond that, we've got the usual options for saving, printing, memorizing, stuff like that. So let's hop over to Retail Management Hero, and we're going to go to our reports. And we see the menu is a little different because it's up along the side here, but let's see if we can do a similar detailed sales report. And it will generate the report. So this looks a little different, and I think the main thing that catches folks off guard is it's not an active, a report that you can interact with. It's just basically you're viewing the printout on the screen here, which is a little different from what RMS users are used to. They're used to drilling deeper and things like that. However, we still have our various options across the top as far as exporting, printing. There is a memorize option. We can do some column sorting, things like that. So it's a little, again, it still gets you what you need. It's just going about a slightly different way. Okay. And Cloud Retailer, we should run a report in there to make sure you get a feel for it. So let's go to reports and detailed sales. Try to keep this all the same. Okay, so it was just a little lag, and then it showed up here. Basically, reports, we've got a lot of flexibility here as far as what we want to show, columns, things like that. Obviously, this goes, I don't want to go too far in depth because then I'll be sidetracking you even further. Nice thing here is we can show different locations. A very nice report to interact with, and we still have the good old options of saving and printing and things like that. The nice thing is it is a little more of an interactive report, like RMS users are used to, as far as if you have a question about something, being able to drill deeper into it. Okay. Last couple of things I want to cover, and basically there would be obviously merchant services. RMS users are very much used to being able to use just about anybody for merchant services, credit card processing, and to switch and pick and choose as needed. You can still select from multiple merchant services companies with both Retail Management Hero and Cloud Retailer. The best way to accomplish this is using what's called Card Defender. Card Defender is basically a plugin module that allows Retail Management Hero and Cloud Retailer to work with any processor that supports First Data, TSYS, or Heartland. And by far that's the easiest way. It keeps you from getting locked into a contract and gets you the latest and greatest in payment terminals, including chip cards and what else? Apple Pay, Google Wallet, Samsung's thing for paying with your smartphone, all that fun stuff. Okay. Last item, I promise. Thanks for bearing with me on this. I'll see if I can't trim some of this down in the editing here. At any rate, we have to talk about customization and add-ons versus configuration. So I'm going to head over to... So I think the best way to show the differences between, customization and add-ons versus configuration is to look at some of the things. Microsoft RMS, there are so many add-ons and plugins and third-party bolt-ons for just about anything you can think of. I mean, when a program is in use at 38,000 retail stores in the US alone and has been out since 2002, 2003, there's a lot of stuff developed for it. Obviously, all of them carry a cost. All of them are things that you have to be thinking about as a program is updated and refined. Will it include this feature function that I'm paying extra for from a third party? Will the third party add-on, customization, etc. work with newer versions, things like that? Retail Management Hero also already has a lot of third-party things that have been added. A couple of things that I've really found to be popular, I guess you would say, would be the Nitro Cell for your shopping cart or e-commerce. The Blue Chip Consulting for folks who want a true QuickBooks interface. RMH has a general accounting file that can be created and exported. This would be for folks who want something a little more in-depth. And then another e-commerce from Synchro IT and United U. Those are probably the most popular things so far that have been created for Retail Management Hero. And again, just have to keep in mind those are third-party additions. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just there's a difference, because now when we get over to Cloud Retailer, and I'm just going to bring up the website, because what you'll see is that there are actually no third-party integrations or add-ons currently listed. You say, well, that's lovely. Let me explain. There are a few things in the works, like e-commerce and accounting integrations, and actually I should say some of those are already available. It's just, with Cloud Retailer, this is more of a configurable system. Best example I can use is, you know how RMS and RMH can track serial numbers? Whether, electronics, whatever you need to track serial numbers for. Cloud Retailer standard does not track serial numbers. However, we can configure and have configured Cloud Retailer to track up to 3 serial numbers for one item. This is for a gun store in California. When I say it's configurable, it means our technician went in, took him, I think, maybe about half hour, 45 minutes, and it was configured to do it. That's it. It's not a third-party add-on. It's not a plug-in. It's not something you're paying extra for. It's something that can be configured right from within the software. And that's where Cloud Retailer really gets some bonus points with folks. Because they go to other vendors, other software manufacturers, and say, can you do this, this, and this? And they say, yes, and it'll cost this, this, and this. or you have to go through this company to get this company to get that, etc., etc. With Cloud Retailer, the answer is sure. Now, there may be some costs involved, but it is not going to be anywhere near what third-party plugin or third-party integration or custom programming would be. In most cases. There's always exceptions, but everything I've worked with so far, the answer has been yes. It can be done. So, there you go. All right. Quick refresher. We compared Microsoft RMS with Retail Management Hero with Cloud Retailer in the areas of the modules that come with each software program, how the point of sale part of the program works for running transactions. We looked at inventory items, purchasing, reporting, merchant services, and we talked about the differences between customizations versus configurations. And to reiterate, the reason I'm focusing on these programs is RMS users receive some significant discounts on RMH and Cloud Retailer, and although these are both good programs for starting out fresh with a new point of sale program, it seems like I'm getting a lot of RMS users contacting me, so that's why I wanted to focus on that for this video. Okay, so I think we have exhausted this for the time being. Appreciate you taking the time to sit through all this. Hopefully you had a beverage and some popcorn to make it a little more enjoyable. Contact information is in the description if you have any questions. Thanks.